We're back and joined now by Bob Woodward, author of the new book, The War Within, A Secret White House History, 2006 to 2008. Before we begin, Mr. Woodward, we're going to share with our audience kind of your sweeping conclusions that you had at the beginning of the book, if we can. President Bush has rarely leveled with the public to explain what he was doing and what should be expected. The president rarely was the voice of realism on the Iraq War. After ordering the invasion, the president spent 3 years in denial and then delegated a strategy review to his national security advisor. Bush was intolerant of confrontations and in-depth debate. There was no deadline, no hurry. The president was engaged in the war rhetorically, but maintained an odd detachment from its management. He never got a full handle on it, and over these years of war, too often he failed to lead. This has brought a response, as you know, from the White House today. The afterword, Mr. Woodward's reporting versus Mr. Woodward's editorializing, this is what the White House had to say. In The War Within, Bob Woodward uses a prologue and epilogue along with a commentary scattered over a few other pages to offer the opinion that the military was marginalized and outmaneuvered in the decision-making process that led to the surge. Woodward's contentions are inaccurate. Having read the book, it seems to me that there is kind of a mixed judgment here. For example, in that August 17th meeting in 2006, he pulls everyone together to talk about the surge. The president's fully engaged at that point.
Yes, but he's also saying publicly that he knows exactly where he's going, and as you note in that meeting, he's kind of wringing his hands. I mean, what so much of this White House response reminds me of, going back to Nixon and Watergate, if you remember, 34 years ago,
I have
Nixon,
good reason to remember, yes.
You sure do. And Nixon put out that big telephone book size transcripts, 1,200 pages, edited. This is the full story. This is true. And then he threw out was not what he didn't like. That's what the White House has done here. The president's own words are quoted in the prologue, which they criticize, in which the president says, I knew it wasn't working, the strategy in Iraq, so the question was what to do. It is the president in the prologue that is the focus, not any commentary by me.
Steve Hadley appeared on Meet the Press with Tim Russert in December of 2006 after a lot of decisions had been made and after Don Rumsfeld had been fired effectively as Secretary of Defense. And this is the exchange that Tim had with Mr. Hadley at that time, who was the President's National Security Advisor.
Some people have suggested the President is just plain stubborn about Iraq. He is going to do it his way, no matter what other people advise. As he said, if it's only just his wife and his dog, he is going to follow the course that's in his mind.
He is stubborn about Iraq because in the sense that the goal for him is very clear. It is a goal that the Iraqis share, I think the American people share. He's also stubborn about Iraq because he understands the cost that if Iraq fails. I think the American people understand the cost that Iraq fails. A base for al-Qaeda and terrorists to destabilize the region, plan attacks against us, use oil against the West.
Stubborn about the goals, but also stubborn when the original plan goes off the rails.
Yeah, and again, there are top secret memos, which I quote, which have been authenticated in this book, telling the president that it's not working, telling him that the chances in Iraq of fracture are increasing, saying things like the violence doesn't need fuel, it's self-sustaining. And then he goes out and says things like, oh, we're absolutely winning, absolutely winning. And again, there is this persistence, as you see in this response Friday night, to say we're going to select the part we like. In doing this, I want to include the full story, not just a positive story or a negative story, but when you look at it over the years of this war. I mean, look, the war in Iraq is probably the most important thing going on right now. We have a political campaign going on, which is indeed significant, but whether it's Obama or McCain, who go into the Oval Office on January 20th, 2009, and sit there, topic one is going to be the Iraq War, topic two is going to be the Afghan War. It is a giant deal, and they are going to feel it.
Let me ask you about what was going on in 2006 in that August meeting, especially the commander on the ground in Iraq was General Casey. He was for a troop drawdown at that time. So was his commander, General Abizaid, who was running CENTCOM out of Florida. And Don Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, thought it was time to start pulling people out of there. What would have happened in Iraq, in your judgment, if they'd had their way and the president had not gone forward with the surge?
You know, that's if history. But again, I sat in the Oval Office 4 months ago and asked the president about this meeting and said, you're saying to them, you may send more troops. And he said, yeah, I think they got the message. And then I said, did you say to them, Rumsfeld, Don, General Casey, what's going on here? Your idea is too optimistic. And the president got kind of churlish and said, well, I don't remember my interchanges with these people. This story here is where the rubber meets the road between the commander-in-chief, who's the boss, and the Secretary of Defense.